Alright, here's what we're working on today. I got this 4.5 inch Craftsman angle grinder here, and I've had this for probably over 40 years and it served me well, and I've always liked them. And I don't know if you can see this where it's made, but you see that right there? Made in the USA. Good luck trying to find something made in the USA today. But anyway, I always liked these because they had the small handle where you can grab it instead of the big fat handle. And what happened is this little centerpiece shot out on me. I was using it the other day and just shot out on me. And here's the piece. It's just like a little button that pushes in there, and what that does is it holds the wheel so you can change it. But when it popped out, all the parts, must have flew out, and I don't know what goes where. But what it looks like it wasn't meant to be repaired. It looks like it was just peened, had a washer in there, probably a spring, and then a washer holding this in, and it's just looks like they sort of just had a machine or something that peened over the casting here. There's a couple others I haven't. Here's what it's supposed to look like. So it's something that isn't meant to be repaired. But like I say, I like this so much I got 3 or 4 of them laying around. And I've had them all for 40 years, and they're the industrial model. And I mean, I use the heck out of them. I keep a flap wheel on one, a wire wheel on the other, a grinding wheel on one. This one here has a cutoff wheel. It's just easier to grab a grinder instead of take it all apart. So what I did is, well, actually what I'm going to do, you could still use this. You could stick a screwdriver in there and there's a hole, and then when it hits the hole it'll bind up. But then if you leave it open like that, it's going to get all dirt and dust and grinding stuff in there and everything. So my plan for today is I want to modify this and make another one of these. Looks like this O-ring was only there to keep out dirt and dust. I see another use for that. But anyway, I had an assortment of springs here, and I grabbed this one, and it looks like it'd be the right size. It'll fit right on here. And then when it goes in, you can see that's how it works. And what I was going to do was get a washer here and epoxy it to the top here. Instead of grinding that out. I'm going to grind that out and clean it, but this piece is going to have to be longer now. So what I was going to do is I was going to epoxy that washer in place there, so that would hold everything in place. And then get a bigger washer. I'm going to have to bore that out a little to get over that, and that would just push everything else down, and then I could epoxy that on real good so it would never come out. So by doing that, I'm going to have to make this, like I said, I'm going to have to modify this one, make it a little longer on one side and a little longer on the other. The way they designed it was, it's just barely sticking up here, but there's really no way for that button to hit. Like when you get done using these, you turn them over and you let them wind down, but there's no way for that button to hit. I'm sure you could make it hit on something, but I'm not worried about that. It'll probably make it easier if I make that longer, that way, because when you push these in and they find a hole, you have to stick your finger way down in a hole to hold it in place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the lathe and make one of these with a little longer end on each side, and then we'll come back and we'll just epoxy it in place. Yeah, this video isn't going to be useful to anybody. It's just going to be a video to show that you can fix just about anything if you wanted to. Even though these things are 40 years old, believe it or not, you can still get parts for these. Not from Sears, but there are other aftermarket companies. But these were cheap. These were like maybe 20, 30 bucks in a day, and they would come in a package with a grinding wheel and a cutting wheel and other stuff. But now, to buy it, just this head would cost you $60. And even on eBay, you can buy these used, but they go from 50 bucks to I seen a one for 100. But like I say, I like them, and they've been good to me, and they've never broken down on me other than this part just popping out. So let's go over there and make this part, and then we'll come back and glue it together and see how that works. Alright, the shoulder on that part there is 43 1/28 inch. 43 over 1/28. That's right between 3/8 and 5/16. So I got a 3/8 bolt here, and we'll cut it down to that size, and then we'll go from there. Alright, yeah, we're happy the way that turned out. Looks like I might have cut it a little long, but actually I didn't. I think we might have to take a little less than a ½ inch off of there, and then the top probably only an 1/8, because the top is going to have 2 washers. You know what? Let me throw you up on a tripod, make it easier to work here. Alright, sticking in a hole here, and that's where it goes when it goes down, but that's not where we want it. That's not where we want to cut it. We want to make sure it's up top. Okay, right there. And that's about 3/8. And then I'm going to make a little ridge here for the washer to sit in. So I think we're going to start at we're going to cut off 7/16 and then see where it's at. And with the top, we're going to have this washer. No, we're actually going to have this little O-ring, then the washer. Like I said, I think the O-ring just keeps dust out. And then this washer. And you got to decide how much you want. And it looks like I probably want maybe 5/16 sticking out. And this, the original one actually almost had 5/16. So the top probably be about the same. So let's cut that off and we'll try it on for size, and then we'll sneak up on it. Alright, yeah, I thought I had it. I cut it down right where I thought it would be, and it looked like it fit good. You know, it would have been fine. Then I turned this counterclockwise. I don't know if you can see it. It's tough holding this in place with 2 little fingers here, but I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little titty on the inside there that's pushing that up. So I got to find that high point. Looks like it's only about maybe a 1/16. So if I cut it down another 1/16, that should be perfect. Good thing I tried it before I glued it, huh? Alright. Yeah, we got everything cut down to the size we want. And we got all the washers on it. We got that little washer there. That's going to be flush with the top. And then this one here is going to be on top of that. So that makes it easier for me to hold on to it here. And you see that? It ain't moving at all now. And when we do engage it, it goes, I don't know if you can see that, but there's only about an 1/8 sticking out. So I'm happy with, you know, that big of a button sticking out. So I'm just going to, because even then, when you lay it on the backs there, you still have almost a ½ inch. You can't see it, but you got a ½ inch before it hits. So what I'm gonna do is round the end off here, make it a little button, and clean that up, and then we'll get the grinder and clean all this area up here and clean everything up here and get ready for epoxy. Oh, something interesting here. I had this all cleaned up here, all ground out and lacquered up and clean as a whistle. And I was figuring out how I could clamp it together while it's hardening. And I tried a couple different ways, but there was no way to clamp it. And I wanted to keep tension on the spring so that the washer would hold. So I figured, well, let me take this off. Maybe I can grab that little pin from behind, and look what I found. Right, got plenty of grease in there. No grease at all on the gear. Turn my light on for you there. Absolutely no grease on the gear, and no grease on this gear at all up top. It's funny, there's no gasket here. It's just a machine fit. Fits in between there. Pretty cool. But like I said, this thing's 40 years old, so I don't know what kind of grease this is, but it's not really hard and stiff, but it's hard and stiff enough that it wasn't lubricating anything. So good thing I took it apart. Now I guess I'll have to take all the rest of my grinders apart. Alright, I can't get to the pin though. The pin comes through this little hole, and I can hold tension on that spring with a pair of vice grips. So that's what we'll do. But I thought you'd find that interesting. All that grease and none of it on the gears. It's amazing how it cleaned off that well. Alright, I got some quick hardening epoxy here. That's only takes about 10 minutes or so. But I have our thing over here in a vise, and I'm just going to go around the edges there. And I got the vice grips holding that down so that the spring is there's no load on the spring. And then I'll just take this washer and put it on there. Alright, yeah, we got it around there. Now I'm just going to put that on there. And I'll tuck it in there and we'll let it sit there for, it says 10 minutes, but I'm going to let it go for a couple of hours. Alright, we'll do that and we'll come back. Alright, yeah, I never did get a chance to come back to that, so this actually set up overnight. Of course, it's been a good 24 hours, but I could probably leave this just the way it is and it'll be fine, because there's really not that much pressure up against that with that spring. But I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and then I'll put this washer over there. We'll epoxy that in place, and that'll never come out of there. Let me clean that up, and then we'll mix up some more epoxy. Alright, I mixed up some epoxy here. This here is the 24-hour stuff, so we got plenty of time to work with it. I'm going to put it around the edges here, so when I press down on it, it doesn't interfere with that the little thumper. And I put this in here, and I'll turn these back on when we're ready to put the little washer on. Alright, I clipped around the edge here, and I think I got it far enough so it won't mess with this. So now I'm going to stick this on here. Mash that in place. That thing going up and down nicely. Now I'm just going to go around and build a little mountain on here and make it look decent. Now we'll never have to worry about this again. Alright, I'll turn you back on when I finish playing. Alright, I got plenty of that around there. Like I said earlier, I mean, I could have left it the way it was and it probably would have been fine, but I'm not after looks here. I just don't ever want to worry about it. So yeah, I globbed it up. Now if you wet your finger, you can go around and tap it down, try to make it look a little better. And then after it hardens, you can even come back and sand it a little bit. We'll see how we feel. Make sure the button's still working. Alright, I'm going to dick around with this a little bit and then I'll turn this back on. Alright, Yeah, it looks good enough to me. So let's let this set up overnight, and we'll see what it looks like in the morning. Alright, yeah, it's set up overnight, and I'm happy with that. But before I sand that out, I'm going to sand some of the lumps out of it and stuff like that. But before I do that, I have to dig out this grease and put some in there. All I have is this synthetic stuff here, this Mobile Wood red stuff, but I guess any grease is better than none, right? And that's apparently what was on there. So that way all this sand and dust, with little sand and dust I get here, won't go in there. Alright, let me grease her up. You know what's interesting here? I started digging out some of this grease, and it's still soft, but man, they didn't waste. You know, they put plenty on there. You know, they didn't worry about waste. Now you open a newer one, and they just barely have enough grease on there to lubricate anything. It's a shame. This must have got thrown off of the gears relatively early, like when it was new. But lucky for me, man, these gears, every one of these is crisp, and the edges are sharp and everything. You know, it's no wear, absolutely no wear at all on this. So, and like I said, I use these things I use them for a long time. So I thought that was interesting. You know, a lot of grease. Alright, there we go. I brushed a little bit of flat aluminum paint on there, and our button's working. So, alright, like I said in the beginning, probably nobody's going to be able to use this video, but I thought maybe somebody would like to hang out in the garage with me, so here we go. Alright, enough of this.